Hey, I'm Alex Macklin from Board Game Co, and today we are doing another Essen list. 20 games that are currently at, well, currently is a stretch, 20 games that will be at Essen 2024, 10 games that I've already played that I'm going to... 10 games that I've already played that I'm going to tell you about, and 10 games I haven't played that I want to play, and I'll talk more loosely about those. We're going to go ahead and dive into all of these. Again, these are 20 games that are at Essen. Most of these are available to buy. A few of them are demo only, but most are available to buy. But if you are going to Essen 2024, this is a great list of games to check out. And if you're not going to Essen 2024, this is a great list of games to have on your vague radar in some way, shape, or form. I will say some of these are currently available already, but they're at Essen, and I still want to talk about them because they're games I really liked, and they'll be at Essen. So if you haven't gotten them yet, this might be your chance, and especially depending on where in the world you live, it might be your first chance to go ahead and do so. So with that, let's go ahead and dive into this, starting off with we are taking this list from the BGG Spiel Essen 2024 preview. So I'm going to include a link to this down below. They have 1,136 games on this list. I filtered it down to 20 games to talk about, although we did talk about a bunch of expansions. Was it 15 expansions we talked about already in a video 2 weeks back? You can check that out if you want a list of videos. Let me mute my phone because I want to go ahead and mute that phone. So you can go ahead and check out that list if you want 15 expansions. And right now we're going to go ahead and dive into the 20 games. We're going to be alternating games I have played and games I'm looking forward to playing, starting off with Resurgence over here. And these are ordered in rough order of how much I care about them. But, well, how excited I am either about having played them and wanting to share them, or how excited I am to actually table them. So from least to most, starting off with Resurgence, from Stan Kodonsky, which is getting a refreshed look from Portal Games. He took Resurgence, which is an excellent, excellent game. It's being given another chance to, well, reach a new audience through the Portal's distribution and networks, which I think is excellent. Resurgence is a worker placement game that is really clever as far as how you're trying to balance everything in that game. Really, really solid game. I've really enjoyed it. It was on crowdfunding, it landed in retail, and now they're freshening up the art and production. I think it's only the cover art that's really changing. Might be tweaks to the rulebook, but the gameplay itself is the same. So if you are a first edition owner, you still have a great game. This is just Resurgence being brought back to your table from Stan Kodonsky and now Portal Games as well. Starting off the category of games I don't know enough about and or haven't played and I want to play, we have Daitoshi from Devir. This one's primarily on this list because it's Devir, and I still love and think Devir, anything Devir puts out is worth checking it out or worth trying, especially if you like medium to heavy Euros, which I tend to like. But Daitoshi, I don't know a ton about this one. It's going to have a modular board, it's going to have worker placement. It looks interesting from what I can see so far, but again, not really a lot to really go by here, so I'm mostly relying on Devir's reputation and that cover art to draw me in. That's why it's my number 10, and a little lower down, it's really just, ooh, a new Devir game, and of course worker placement and modular board, both of which are solid things, but I need more information about the game. Coming in number 9, we have Nog. I guess number 9 in the sense that if I'm doing two separate concurrent lists of games I've played, games I haven't played. Coming in at number 9, we have Nog from Grand Gamers Guild. I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was a very, very clever production, very, very clever game of trying to manage your rows of cards as you build them. You are basically building out these rows of cards, trying to order out how you're going to sequence both within each row and the columns, trying to draft those cards both for the higher scoring while being mindful of what other players are going to try to do to get in your way. Really solid, clever game. Plays in 30 minutes, plays well solo, plays well multiplayer, and just highly variable as far as the game goes, and they just had the recent Kickstarter for the game where they had even more coming for the game. Coming in at number 9 for games I am interested in playing, we have Phoenix New Horizon. This one across 4 rounds of play, again a little bit of worker placement, this one with some variable workers. The game, like I just saw a review come out, actually I haven't watched the review, but I just saw Board Game Ramblings put out coverage on this one, and it looks like they enjoyed it, but that means I have to table it myself and find out. But the overall production looks great, the bits and tokens, everything here really pulls you in, so this one's more about the combination of seeing it being covered already, the publisher, I think they have some games on the belt. Was it Satori? I think Paralocal Games has Satori. Let me just double check that. Satori over here. That's what they have over there. They also have another game. Well, they actually have another game from them, but either way, we'll go back to this right now. But anyways, that is going to be Phoenix New Horizon. Definitely interested in checking out this one. Coming in at our number 8 picks, we have Castle Combo for the game I played. Castle Combo from Pandasaurus just arrived this past week, and I've already dived into the game, and I've already been liking Castle Combo. It very much gives me Faraway vibes, although different than Faraway. Don't get too excited. If you're a huge Faraway fan, you might love this, and if you're a huge Faraway fan, you might not. It kind of depends exactly where that lines up for you. In this game, you're basically building out a 3x3 grid. You're trying to build out a 3x3 grid as you draft various nobility and various peasants to fill up that grid for you. The balance of the game is trying to figure out how to manage your economy to actually get things, how to manage your keys, because you actually have to make sure you can get cards from different rows, and or refresh the row if there's nothing there that matches your engine, while trying to gather cards that all work well for you in combination. It's a very clever puzzle, very fast playing. This is a game you can knock out in 20 minutes, and it just gives you a lot to do in those 20 minutes. It's already on Board Game Arena if you want to check it out there. I've already played it in person. I actually haven't played it on BGA yet, but I should probably try it out because this is the kind of game that I very much enjoy. That's going to be a Castle combo. For our number 8 of the games we haven't played, we have Baghdad, the City of Peace. Coming to you from Alley Cat Games, art by Roland McDonald, which I like his art in general. This is a nice touch as far as a new cover style or theme for him, but he's done Western Legends, he's done, well, a whole bunch of other things, Ruination, Western Legends, other stuff that is not coming to mind, his own game as well, obviously. But Baghdad, the City of Peace, don't know a ton about this, but the gameplay really sounds intriguing to me. You're going to be playing cards, pushing cards. As you play a card, you push a card out of your tableau and trigger its ability, and you're building up sets of icons to pull off difficult actions and plan ahead. This kind of thing does seem like it's very much about the combination of what's in your grid at any given point versus what's pushing out. I tend to enjoy those puzzles. Well, not always, but usually I enjoy that kind of puzzle, trying to manage your grid and tableau as you go. For our number 7 picks, well, before we dive into our number 7 picks, we have a sponsor for today's video, which is Sibyl. Sibyl from Marathon Games. Speaking of Essen, while you're at Essen, you can go ahead and check them out. This is going to be an upcoming crowdfunding campaign. This is a game about a tarot-based board game in which you're going to be trying to attract various customers while you try to fulfill various goals. There's going to be a variety of goals put into play. You have to fulfill 2 of those goals, trying to figure out what your engine is going to work for you as you go. You're trying to choose from 21 different cards in your hand at a given point to define your actions for that round, trying to predict not only what works best for you, but also trying to predict around what works best for your opponent as you try to think through what they're going to do so you can get rewarded if you correctly call their actions. Meanwhile, you're trying to build your engine, satisfy those customers, and ultimately try to fulfill those 2 goals. Check out Sibyl on Kickstarter as well as at Essen if you are there. Moving on, we have Cascadia Rolling Hills. Number 7 picks over here. Cascadia Rolling Hills is the game that I've played from these over here. This is not by any means a new game, but honestly I saw it on the Essen list and I was like, I don't give this game enough love, and I really like this game. Both Cascadia Rolling Hills and Rolling Rivers are going to be roll and write games in the Cascadia universe. They're not necessarily the best roll and write games of all time, well, they're definitely not the best roll and write games of all time, but they are very solid roll and writes that give you a high degree of variety as you explore the different maps that the games give you, the different boards you're trying to run through, as they try to manage what you're drafting to try to fill everything you possibly can, knowing you're never going to fulfill everything. I really enjoyed both Rolling Hills and Rolling Rivers. This is a very solid game that, well, if you like roll and writes and if you like Cascadia, you should definitely check this one out. For our number 7 pickup games I haven't played, we have Dead Cells, the Rogue-Lite board game. Dead Cells is one that I've been wanting to play since I've seen this on crowdfunding, and it's one, especially coming from Scorpion Mask. The game looks delightful. The game got the generally positive coverage from the people who are covering the prototype, and in general, I like roguelike games. I like Slay the Spire a lot. I'm enjoying the Slay the Spire board game a ton, and I'm happy to try out a similar but yet adjacent game, Dead Cells, the Roguelite board game. I will say I actually tried the video game because of the board game. The video game wasn't as much for me. It wasn't bad, but I wasn't as pulled into it as I am by other roguelike games, so I'm curious whether the board game will feel more like the video game or whether it will really be an enjoyable engine that I want to dive into. For our number 6 pick of games I've played, we have Kelp, Shark vs. Octopus. Kelp, coming to you from Wonderbow Games, gives you an asymmetric experience of a shark hunting down an octopus amongst the reeds. Meanwhile, the octopus is trying to obfuscate the information about where they are, trying to deceive the shark as the shark builds up the networking tides and currents to try to move and navigate around the board as necessary to be able to hone in on that octopus. A very solid, very satisfying, tactical, abstract game, did incredibly well on crowdfunding, and this one I believe is available to buy at Essen for the first time. For our number 6 pick of games I haven't played, we have the Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle-earth. I've already talked about this because it was Gen Con, but, well, I think it's a Gen Con to demo, not yet buy, if I'm not mistaken. But this is coming to you from Minos Productions, and it takes 7 Wonders Duel and puts it into, well, the Lord of the Rings universe, which I like the universe, I like the game, and also mixes up the game. This is not the same game, so if you used to 7 Wonders Duel, this is going to have elements that are similar, but it also manages to be very different, trying to make it its own beast. It's an offshoot, so to speak. Think Ticket to Ride and Ticket to Ride Europe. It has elements of the same thing while being very different. For our number 5 pick of games we played, we have Endeavor Deep Sea. This one finally delivered. Finally, people were able to get their hands on this one. I believe at Gen Con for the first time. I believe it'll be a sale. I believe it'll be for sale at Essen. I think it's delivering as well shortly. But Endeavor Deep Sea, coming to you from Burnt Island Games, takes the Endeavor system. The Endeavor system that, you know, was a very popular game even before Burnt Island Games came along. Then they deluxified it and brought it back, and now we have Endeavor Deep Sea, a retheming and changing up to the game experience while maintaining the core things that made Endeavor a fascinating, solid puzzle of trying to build out your workers, or well, buildings in the original and workers in this one, trying to balance all the actions you're going to be earning throughout the game as you try to navigate further and further into the ocean, trying to get more points than other players through the way you build out your tableau and actions in the game. Very solid experience, very satisfying experience. That's Endeavor Deep Sea. For our number 5, we're up to 6. I always do this wrong. 6, 5, 4. For number 4 pick of games I haven't played, I think I'm up to the right number, we have Raas, Dance of Love. Oh, this is a mistake. I've technically played Raas, Dance of Love. I'll explain what's going on here. Raas, Dance of Love, I had a chance to play a prototype for this game over a year ago. Since then, it has been picked up by Arcane Wonders, and I've heard a lot of things have changed around the experience. You're going to be managing dancers as they spin around the floor. It's a light to medium cooperative game for 1 to 6 players. You're going to be dealing with these little gear tiles as you draft dancers from the draft dancing dice from these tiles to fulfill various goals. Although, again, I don't know how much has changed since the prototype that I last, got a chance to play. But that's why I kind of put it in the kind of haven't played category, because I played it, but I also know it's changed significantly. I am happy to finally see it showing up in some way, shape, or form. So that's going to be Raas, A Dance for Love. But check this one out. Again, I've only played a prototype that I've been told has changed a lot. So I don't know exactly how similar this is to the game I tabled, but the game I did table, I really enjoy. Moving on, we have Ironwood for a game that I have played over here. Ironwood coming to you from Mind Clash Games. This is an incredibly solid game that basically to me felt like Root if Root had really strong solo modes at the gate and a 2-player game that basically, because this is a 2-player game. In the game, you're managing the Woodwalkers or the Ironclad in this asymmetric experience with asymmetric different ways of winning, but with similarities to some of the core aspects, while dealing with the intricate card play, cards that are going to give you abilities, but also manage some of the power of the various actions, and also be very helpful in the clashes you're going to engage in. This one gives you 2 different solo modes, one when you're fighting against the Woodwalkers, and one when you're fighting against the Ironclad, so you can play this as a 2-player experience. You can also play this as 2 different solo games with different feels to the experience. Ironwood is definitely one worth checking out if you in any way like anything about Root, or asymmetric, or 2-player, or solo experiences at all. From there we have Magic Maze Tower. It might be surprising to you that this is as high up my list, but it is as high up my list. In fact, I have another one that's kind of in the same vein. But Magic Maze Tower over here, this one, I love the Magic Maze games. I really enjoy the original Magic Maze. I like Magic Maze on Mars. They're both games that I kind of played through the full arc. Eventually I did get rid of them, but they're both games that I got like, 20 plus plays out of, if not more. For Magic Maze on Mars, I kind of played through and got rid of. For Magic Maze, I played and played and played. That's a game I got so many plays out of it, and I don't know if Magic Maze on Mars will improve upon that or be worse, I don't really know, but all I know is anything to do with the Magic Maze universe. I love the game system. It's a fast, frenetic, little real-time game element where you're trying to balance communication or lack thereof as you work with or not really with your other players in a game from sit-down games. Again, I'm a huge fan of Magic Maze. When I saw this was going to be a new release, I was incredibly excited for it. Then from there we have Harmonies. Harmonies, which again, for many people is available to buy already, but Harmonies is one of those games that kind of just took the gaming world by storm and whatnot. It's going to be one of those best of 2024 picks for many creators, I'm sure, but it's a game that gives you that kind of Cascadia-like kind of scoring, honestly like Reef. If you ever played Reef back in the day, Harmonies kind of builds upon what Reef did, but, well, builds, pun intended, pun not intended, builds upon what Reef did by giving you a similar game system, but I think far more intricate and really, really well done. It is available on Board Game Arena if you want to try. I've had a chance to play this one both in person and on Board Game Arena. It is an excellent game. I prefer it to play in person. It's got that little tactile aspect as you build out your 3D landscape, but basically what you're doing is you are building out your 3D landscape. You're trying to balance drafting various tiles from a pool, place them into your board with default scoring rules as far as all the things you're building, from buildings to trees to mountains to valleys and plains and all those things. You have default scoring rules, but then you're also drafting cards to create scoring patterns and trying to balance all those things together to give you as many points as possible. Again, if you like games like Cascadia or games like Reef, this kind of takes the best of both and combines it beautifully in, well, harmony, I guess. From there we have Tower Up. Tower Up, a game that this is something from Monolith Games, and it's one that I don't know enough about this one, but this is one that I was really excited to table because I've heard so many people coming out of Gen Con who are really, really happy with this game. A lot of people coming out of Gen Con said this is one of their favorite games that they played at Gen Con, and that is high praise in general for a game that, like, it looks fine. It looks fine. I don't know a ton about the actual gameplay of this one. I just know that there's a lot of people who said that this one was their favorite game. You're basically taking cards, and you're basically picking a card, taking the resources, or using your resources to construct a new building. I don't know how or why that makes it such a good game. This is one of those ones that's tricky because if I was looking at it from the cover alone, from the game approach alone, this would not be nearly as high for me. I just had like 4 people tell me this is their favorite game at Gen Con, and that's a lot of people who say that. I mean, well, 4 is not a lot, but when I usually ask people a lot, like, what your favorite game is at insert convention name here, and having this many people say the same game, that usually means something. So for me, Tower Up is high on the list, primarily because of the people who have played this who seem to really enjoy it. From there we have Spectacular. Spectacular is going to be one of my favorite games that I got a chance to table, or one of my favorite games I've got a chance to table this past year. Spectacular is basically going to be a dice drafting and tile drafting game as you build out your zoo, trying to gather the requisite tiles to hopefully build out your zoo, to try to place your animals in the right locations, to score as much as possible, trying to be mindful of your pregnant animals as well as your scoring animals, trying to be mindful of these towers you're going to be building in your zoo and the dice that go around them. Similar to Harmonies, there's a lot to balance in this game, and similar to Harmonies, I really enjoy the fast-playing game. I enjoy the fact that it plays up to 6 players with simultaneous play, which really means you can actually enjoy that full 6-player complement without having a huge downturn. I will say I think it plays better at lower player counts because you get to see your things come back to you, and in any kind of drafting game, the additional puzzle and tension of will I see these things back adds an extra element to the game that you don't get quite as much at higher player counts. But it does work at higher player counts. For me, I really enjoy this one. Highly recommend checking out Spectacular. Then we have The Crew, the Family. And now I don't even know if it's going to have an English version of this game yet, but this is basically The Crew Quest for Planet 9 mixed with the setting of Swiss Family Robinson. I don't know about you, I love watching Swiss Family Robinson growing up. Yes, I know it's a book too. Well, not a book too. Yes, I know it's a book, and I like the book, I like the movie. But either way, Swiss Family Robinson, I definitely have fond memories of that movie growing up. It's one of those movies, like, I don't know about you. When I grew up, I had movies I watched, and I had movies I owned, okay? So my family had movies I owned, and movies I owned always got watched significantly more. So movies for me, which a handful of movies that I've owned were, what's it called, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, what's it called, Heavyweights, Swiss Family Robinson. These are movies I own, and because of that, they got watched again and again and again, and they really built up those memories. And so I have very fond memories of Swiss Family Robinson. I should make my kids watch that movie. I should offer it to them to watch. But yeah, so you combine The Crew with Swiss Family Robinson, and I am 100% interested in this, and I really, really hope there's going to be an English version of it. If not, I'll figure out how to make it work with, I don't know if it's really how heavily dependent it is as far as the cards. Like, it doesn't look like there's a ton of text, but I also can't see very well on that very, very small picture. But yeah, very, very interested in this one, and definitely hope this one comes out with an English version. Then from there we have Unconscious Mind. Unconscious Mind is going to be my highest one from the games I have played. It's my number one pick for games I've played. Coming from Fantasia Games. This will be available at Essen. It's starting to ship. It's starting to be available. I think it's starting to ship, but it will be available at Essen. This is the one I've been waiting a long time for, and I loved it when I first played it. I am excited to dive back into it. This is one that, like, as much as I love Endless Winter, I think I like Unconscious Mind more than Endless Winter. The level of cascading goodness as you create your own tableau in this game, it had so much going on in a way that was incredibly intricate and yet not too overwhelming. So if you in any way like, any kind of mid to 8 Euro game with a lot of cascading anything, Unconscious Mind is going to reward you. It is a solid, satisfying experience that I definitely recommend checking out if you are at Essen. And plus, it looks beautiful. It looks absolutely beautiful with art from Andrew Bosley and Vincent DeTrate, if I recall correctly. Let me just double check that. Andrew Bosley, Vincent DeTrate, and Yoma. Just a very, very solid game that looks beautiful, amazing production, and one that the gameplay itself backs everything else up. And then lastly, we have my list for my number one that I haven't played. We have Minos, Dawn of the Bronze Age. Minos, Dawn of the Bronze Age, ironically, we started with Stan Kodonsky and we ended with Stan Kodonsky. That was not intended. Resurgence, our very first one, was Stan Kodonsky. That was just a happy coincidence. But we have Minos, Dawn of the Bronze Age from Board and Dice. This is one where I actually just had my copy show up. I'm incredibly excited to play it, but the main thing that hooked me was not just the fact that that's from Stan Kodonsky, but rather the fact that it utilizes a system he uses in Rurik for the action economy of the game, for trying to balance how much you can get done, and I absolutely love the tension of that system, and I'm incredibly excited to dive into, well, this version of that game. So, not this version of that game, a new version of the game utilizing that system. But yeah, that's Minos, Dawn of the Bronze Age. Very, very excited for this one. I have it on not my table per se, because I haven't actually de-shrinked it. Well, I de-shrinked it, I haven't punched it. I do need to punch it, and I do want to play it because, I love Rurik, and I'm very intrigued to see what Stan did, taking that system and porting it over to another game. And there you have it, 20 games from Essen 2024. Again, there's a whole list over on BGG if you want to go ahead and check out through the 1,136 games that might be of interest to you. And again, you can sort by thumbs in case you want to see the general interest from people who thumbed up the games, I guess. For myself, these are 20 games, 10 that I have played, 10 that I have played, and 10 that I haven't played, that I am incredibly interested in for a variety of different reasons, and think you should definitely check out on your end as well. In any case, until next time, I'm Alex Radical from Board Game Co. Hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I hope you have a good one.